Adolescence. There's an elephant in the room here, which we haven't talked about yet. It's the adolescent brain. An adolescent brain is not an adult brain with less experience. It is anatomically, biochemically, and physiologically different from a child's or an adult's brain. Those differences fall into two main categories. The first is an imbalance of power between the thrill-seeking parts of the primitive brain and our more evolved rational brain. The second is an explosion of new brain connections, followed by rapid pruning and reorganization. Let's start with the first feature. During adolescence, a temporary imbalance develops. The sex, drugs, and rock and roll part of the brain is in overdrive. That's the reward circuit. While at the same time, the let's give this some thought part of the brain is still under construction. In fact, those frontal lobes won't reach full maturity until about age 25. Now, how does the adolescent reward circuit produce much stronger go-for-it signals? First, the teen brain squirts out far more dopamine than does an adult brain. Second, the brain's sensitivity to dopamine and other exciting neurochemicals is significantly higher. It peaks around age 15. This combination of more dopamine and more dopamine receptors sends novelty-seeking skyrocketing. In fact, one study found that teen brains respond to anything perceived as exciting with 2 to 4 times the reward circuitry activation of adults. Not only are teen brains pumping out more dopamine and other reward neurochemicals, they produce higher levels of delta phos-B. As we saw already, delta phos-B is at the heart of sexual conditioning. One outcome of higher levels of dopamine and delta phos-B is that adolescent brains are far more vulnerable to addictions than are adults. Teens also have weaker stop signals. Unfortunately, the sex hormones that initiate teen sensitivity to thrills do nothing to speed up the development of the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe controls impulses, inhibits inappropriate behavior, and weighs the consequences of one's actions. A teen brain is like a car with a Ferrari engine and Ford Pinto brakes, in that the urges from the high-powered reward circuit can overwhelm the underdeveloped frontal lobe. Teens often base their choices on emotional impulses and have trouble perceiving consequences of going for it. Again, this is no accident. This imbalance of power has an evolutionary purpose. All social mammals exhibit the same characteristics during adolescence: increased risk-taking and increased sensation-seeking. Both helped animals get fired up about sex, leave home, explore new territory, and eventually find mates outside their group. The purpose? To discourage inbreeding. Today, adolescent humans, impelled by these very same urges, encounter hazards that they never evolved to face. Motorcycles, fast cars, recreational drugs, video games, junk food, and of course, internet porn. The second major feature of the adolescent brain is an explosion of new nerve connections during early adolescence, perhaps 50 to 100 billion new ones, which is followed by rapid pruning and reorganization. So the brain begins shrinking after age 11, but its functions gradually become more orderly and efficient. This process allows the teen to learn all about his environment and then wire in important new experiences and memories, using the fire together, wire together principle. To understand this better, think of forming pathways or ruts in the brain. The more often you take a new path, the easier it becomes. These ruts become memories, skills, habits, even ways of coping. The key point: you are more likely to use an established path even if you don't want to. It becomes the rut of least resistance. Top adolescent brain expert Jay Gee describes the process as the use it or lose it principle. Quote, "Those cells and connections that are used will survive and flourish. Those cells and connections that are not used will wither and die." So if a teen is doing music or sports or academics, those are the cells and connections that will be hardwired. If they are lying on the couch or playing video games or watching MTV, those are the cells and connections that are going to survive. unquote. There's no doubt that the cells and connections for sexuality will survive and flourish during adolescence. The question is, what input will shape these circuits? Just ponder the enormous diversity of environments and customs that human adolescents have adapted to over the ages. This adaptability worked well for a wide range of sexual customs and practices involving real mates. Today, though, a 13-year-old's sexual pathways may be molded by hardcore pixels and constant novelty, perhaps years before his first sexual encounter or even his first kiss. Clicking a mouse has replaced leaving one's tribe to search the savannah for fertile mates. While glued to his screen, a young guy is not learning courtship skills or interacting with potential mates, the very tasks for which adolescence evolved, and his brain is not wiring his sexual response to flirting, pheromones, or three-dimensional partners of normal proportions. In conclusion, as Jay Phelan, UCLA biology professor and co-author of Mean Genes, says, all excessive stimulations of the reward circuitry that are not the behaviors for which it originally evolved are problematic. Like crack and Krispy Kreme donuts, internet porn is another manifestation of mismatch. The phenomenon of our modern world deviating from the world to which we became adapted over evolutionary time. This is not yet appreciated for internet porn, unquote. Thanks for listening. The science behind this presentation can be found on www.yourbrainonporn.com below the presentation.